3, 2, 1. Yo, people! Welcome to another interview with RetroReverbRecords. I'm Cole, aka Cybertronics, and today I am joined by the fantastic artists, The Last Years. Would you like to introduce yourself on a personal level? What's your name?
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Drew from The Last Years. Thanks for having me, Cole.
No problems. Thank you for coming on. Drew, where are you from, mate?
So I'm originally from Florida. Don't tell anybody that. I don't like to tell people that I'm from Florida because it's a mess.
Edit it out. Don't worry.
So I'm here in the States in Connecticut, and I'm actually only one half of The Last Years. I have another partner who is a writing and producing partner. His name is Aaron Flannery, and he lives in Knoxville, Tennessee. So.
Oh, I actually didn't know that. So
yeah,
that's a nice little piece of information. Well, hello one half, and well done the other half. Some great music going on over there.
Thanks, man.
Okay, listen. So look, you've arrived on the scene with a bang, as far as I'm concerned. Lots of people heard about you. You've had some great collaborations recently with. Go on, you can introduce them.
Yeah, so just did 2 tracks, one back in September, and actually one that just released a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, with Michael Cross. So that's been really fun. Got another couple coming up. One with somebody you are very familiar with my man Andy from the Subtheory. So yeah.
Oh, Andy.
Yeah, so it's been really fun doing some last year's stuff, and then doing some vocals on some other folks' stuff too. It's been super fun.
Okay, and obviously, well, actually, you came onto to my radar even before you and Michael Cross submitted to the Synthwave chart.
Yeah,
I can't even remember when we started to speak. I noticed your stuff quite a while ago.
Yeah, I think that was back February or March when I released that first EP that came out way back when.
What was it called?
A lifetime ago now.
What was it called?
So that one was called Romance. That's a 3-track EP. That's probably the first stuff that I did as The Last Years. Kind of before that, the stuff that I was writing was a little more post-punk with less synth influence. So that's probably the first kind of stuff that really incorporated a lot of synth in the music. So.
Okay, I'm very tempted here. This is the thing that happens when I do interviews. I'm very tempted to jump to like the 4th question because it's linked to what you just said. But I think I'm going to try and stick with the format of the interview.
Okay, yeah, sorry, man.
No, it's not your fault. It's absolutely my fault because whenever people are talking, I start getting like 100 questions that come into my mind. I'm trying to like slow it down, follow the format. All right, listen. First question. So today, actually, I think I'll give this away. You're releasing your EP through us. We're going to do a tape run with you.
Yeah, super excited about it.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. Awesome EP. Really, really good. We've got a nice, good video coming out for it as well, done by Jason or Elixir9. And I was working on the artwork today, but I'd like to know, like, how did you come about? What was the inspiration behind your logo or your artwork in general?
Yeah, so I guess a lot of the artwork is just pictures that I've taken, over the years. The logo, funny enough, actually, my wife came up with that. My wife is the Photoshop person in our family, but I was like, trying to come up with something that looked, retro, but kind of had like a modern feel to it too. So she designed she came up with the font, and we liked the way it looked, and then she kind of designed the neon piece around it, which I thought looked really good.
You mean like the sort of the shape?
Yeah, so she came up with that, which I thought looked really good. And then the 1984 is not part of the name, but that's more of like an established in 1984 because that was the year I was born. So.
And was the color scheme just something that you liked, or was that also a reference to retro? And
yeah, same. Yeah, so it's kind of a wash of colors. So it kind of fades from one color to another. And I always when you look at old logos, and I almost think that it's less 80s and probably a little more 90s, because that's just kind of the era that I came up in. But you know, you see that kind of hyper fade, you know, in the early 90s stuff, and that's always an aesthetic that's been pleasing to me. So.
Yeah, well, you know, I think that when people talk about synthwave as well, and that there's always, you know, there's always a crossover between decades, isn't there? It's not like all of a sudden 1990 started and 1989 finished.
Right. Yeah.
In fact, 1990 started and 1987 was probably still fairly relevant.
That's
in
right.
some
Yeah.
ways. Yeah. And then that's why you get things like vaporwave and other stuff that sort of move off towards 91, 92, and people kind of like that kind of aesthetic as well. All still retro, all still relevant to the scene. I really, I liked the logo a lot. I like the design of the logo, so credit to your wife. I don't know what her name is.
Yeah, her name is Sarah. She's awesome.
Well done, Sarah. Nice one. But the name is something that I remember the last years, I really, as soon as I heard that name, I thought, oh, that's a cool name. So how did that come about?
So I don't really know exactly where the last years came from. I think it's kind of a nod to, you know, it's kind of a retro sounding name, you know, and kind of a throwback sounding name. But it almost is also along the lines of, you know, could this be, you know, you as an individual, or you as a, you know, person, could these be your last years, and you know, what are you doing with them? You know, are you doing the thing that you want to do? And if you're not, you should be, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
But I think, you know, it's kind of a twofold thing, and I was just kind of sitting and thinking about, like, what do I want to call this project, and it just kind of popped into my head, and I was like, oh, I think that sounds really cool. So so we just rolled with it, and like I said, my wife came up with the logo, and here we are.
So you said something quite interesting there, you know, like, if you're not doing what you want to do, you should be. So Drew, personal question, what is it you want to be doing?
Yeah, man, I don't know. You know, right now I'm just making music that I think sounds cool and I'm happy with. And, you know, if other people think that that's cool and connect with it, that's great, man. You know, I think that's obviously the goal that we all have, right? You know, we all make music for ourselves, and you know, we have to be happy with what we make, but you know, you also make it for other people to enjoy and hopefully connect to in some way. And I think, you know, that's super important, is to make something that's genuine and that people you know, can connect with. And you know, if I do that for a couple of people, and you know, if I make music that I'm happy with, and then somebody else out there is like, you know what, I dig that too, then that's kind of mission accomplished. So,
well, you know, do you know what, from what I've seen from the scene and the response to your music so far, I think you have accomplished that. And obviously a lot of people out there like your sound, like your voice, like your vocals, like the sound of your music as well.
Thanks, man.
So well done. Have you always been involved in music? Have you changed genres? Where did you come from?
Yeah, so man, that's a loaded question.
Sorry,
sorry,
I told you I'm not good at this.
Yeah, I grew up around music. My mom, when I was a kid, always sang. You know, whether it be in church or in you know, she sang in the car. She listened to a lot of like early 90s and late 80s country music. So
okay.
I actually had quite a lot of that growing up, which is kind of funny. But I think there's something very interesting about, like, you know, that kind of era of country music where you have, you know, really great songwriting and really great storytelling. So, you know, I think that there's something to be kind of gleaned from that. But yeah, I, you know, all through high school and even, like, you know, middle school and high school, was in like show choir and, you know, chorus and all of that kind of stuff. So I've always sang. But man, I've been in metal bands, I've been in hardcore bands, I actually was in a country band, an outlaw country band, for a little while. You know, so all kinds of, every genre I've probably done it at some point or another as I've been, you know, kind of going through the years.
I think something you said there just quickly that I can relate to is you were saying that your was it, did I hear this correctly? Your mum used to play music to you in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly the same for me. My mum, when I was growing up as a young boy, used to play me all these like 80s classics and stuff. And
yeah,
they really stuck with me. I used to be in the back singing along, and you know, really, you know, just getting into them stuff. And, you know, they're still my favorite bands now. I still listen to them all the time.
Yeah, I remember distinctly when I was a kid being outside, and my dad had this pretty serious turntable and kind of stereo system, and he was playing a Blue Oyster Cult record one time, like as loud as it would go, and our neighbors got super pissed and had to tell him to turn it down. But you know, that's like, you know, one of those things that you kind of never forget is your old man jamming a Blue Oyster Cult. So
yeah, wow. All right, cool. Right, listen, talk to me about then, how would you describe your sound since you've come into the scene?
yeah, you know, I don't know, man. I definitely think it's not traditional synthwave by any stretch of the imagination. I think, you know, I personally probably use that term pretty liberally when we talk about you know, synthwave.
See some of the submissions I get, mate.
Oh, yeah,
that's not even close to synthwave.
Yeah, you know, I think it's I think it incorporates elements of a couple of different genres. You know, when you think about post-punk or you know, just traditional 80s pop or just traditional 80s rock, or just any rock for that matter, but I think it's a kind of a melding of a couple of different styles. I think, you know, even with the guitars, there's some shoegaze in there with the guitar effects that I use. So I'd probably say you know, I don't even know what you would call it, but I, you know, I definitely think that there are some elements of synthwave and synthpop in there, but you know, it's a melding of a bunch of different genres, I would think.
I think for me, I mean, probably it's closest. I mean, because of the vocal element, it's probably closest to synth pop.
Yeah,
for me, which and you know, I hope you don't mind, but I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. In fact, in many ways, I think it's kind of where the scene's going, because there's only so many sort of like the way that synthwave is made and structured, and the sort of it, you know, it's slightly calmer, slightly slower.
yeah.
I think when people are looking to add dimensions to synthwave, they're looking for vocals or drums or something like that. So you're seeing a lot of synth pop stuff coming out.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, man. I think, you know, a lot of the stuff you're seeing coming out now that's getting some play is definitely, you know, catchy vocal lines, you know, and good quality singing, you know, I think is helping you know, kind of diversify some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. And it's not all just like poppy pop stuff though, as well, because, you know, the 80s wasn't just poppy pop. There was lots of dark stuff, and, you know, dark pop, and, you know, it doesn't have to be Madonna to be pop. You know? Yeah. There's many different layers of pop, and sometimes people associate the word pop with tacky, but for me, not at all. I mean, there's even nowadays, there's loads of really great pop tracks coming out. Loads. Yeah. Okay, cool. Right. Next question. I have to look at my list because I've forgotten. All right. When you're making music, you know, what's your process, and what do you find frustrating?
Yeah, so most of the time the process is I have, you know, an idea whether I start writing on guitar or you know, on keyboard or whatever that is. You know, it probably starts there, and then kind of develops. The way we did, Aaron and I did the Future Ghost record is, you know, I would come up with kind of the bones of a song, or he would come up with the bones of a song, and then we would kind of bounce those back and forth until the song really developed. Most of the time, are you
talking like writing? You're getting a chord progression or something like that?
Yeah. So yeah. So case in point would be like the title track on Future Ghost, the Future Ghost song. That actually started out with that bass line. You know, I was just kind of thumbing through and working with some VSTs, and I found this patch and kind of messed with it a little bit, and I was like, you know, that might be something, and kind of worked around that, and then, you know, wrote a guitar part to go with that verse, and then you know, kind of wrote a vocal part to go over that, and then wrote the pre-chorus, and then, you know, that particular song took forever to kind of get the chorus down to make something that felt right. But, you know, he and I kind of went back and forth, and, you know, I had a different drum part originally. And, you know, I should probably give you a little backstory about how he and I met, and how all
Please do. Yeah, go.
So I actually went to school to do music production. I went to a school in Orlando called Full Sail, and was there and did learn how to do music production. This is, you know, 15, 16 years ago. So a lot has changed since then.
Of course.
And then I moved to Nashville for a couple of years, and worked at a couple of studios down there, which is where I met Aaron. So Aaron worked in audio post-production. So he actually did a lot of work for country music television, and like the CMAs, which are like the Country Music Awards. So he did a lot of work for them. But we've been friends for, you know, 15, 16 years now. And when I was writing the Future Ghost stuff, I had sent him a couple of tracks, and he was like, "Hey, do you mind if I just see if I can kind of work with these? I think they're really good, but I have a couple of ideas." And I said, "Sure." And I think the first track that we worked on together was TV Romantic. And, you know, I had originally recorded it with all live instruments except for the drums. So, you know, a bass guitar and regular guitar, and just, you know, some synth lead lines. And he kind of reworked it to where it was a little more driving and a little more upbeat. And I thought, man, like, this sounds really good. You want to do a record together? And he said, yeah, let's do it. So that's kind of how that all came together. But so what we kind of do now is, like I said, one of us will come up with an idea and kind of flesh it out a little bit, and then we just kind of send it back and forth to each other, because we live in obviously 2 different states.
Yeah.
So that's been really helpful. And you know, it's always nice, you know, when you do something by yourself, or you're trying to write a lot of music by yourself, you don't have the ears of someone else to be like, "Hey man, that doesn't work. That sucks. Yeah. Like, don't do that." You know? So what's been really nice is, because he and I are such good friends, and there's a comfort level there. There's like no ego. So, you know, he can tell me, "Hey Drew, like that vocal line doesn't work," or like, "What if you did this, because what you did is not great." Yeah. So what's really nice about him is he plays piano, and he's a beautiful piano player. And that translates, and you can hear a lot of that on the record, just with his ability to find lead lines or find chord progressions that you're like, "Man, I would not have thought of that." So I think, you know, having him and being able to have somebody to work with and bounce ideas off of is really nice. So
I think that's what everyone's striving for, you know, like how do you find it, like a catchy chord progression, or, you know, a melody that sticks in your head, kind of thing.
Well, when you do, let me know, because I'll.
Yes, I'm sitting there today trying to work one out, and I couldn't.
Yeah, it's not easy. You know, and I think when you start adding, you know, lyrics and all of that, that's where, because, you know, when I write lyrics, I want something that matters to me personally, you know, and that hopefully somebody else could connect with. And I think that can sometimes be tough, because, you know, you want it to be relatable, but you also don't want it to be superficial or you know, just kind of every day, you know. You want, at least I don't. I always want to feel like it means something, or it matters, or, you know, that's kind of how.
There's a good example of that. There's this guy, he sang for a boy band. I can't remember what his name is now, and the lyrics are Watermelon High. Have you heard it? It's like a British guy.
I have heard that song. I don't know who sings it though.
I can't remember what his name is now off the top of my head. Anyway, he's one of these sort of mass-produced boy bands. He won some kind of Britain's Got Talent, something blah 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 thing. The thing is, the lyrics to that song are absolutely shit. But it's got like a catchy little melody to it, and people like it. And I don't particularly like that song, but it just goes to show that if you can get something catchy in there,
that's right.
That's how it can work. I mean, and what is a Watermelon High anyway?
I couldn't begin to tell you.
I mean, if I want to get high, I definitely don't think about going to a watermelon. No, I'm just going to buy a bit of watermelon, you know, get off my head. Anyway, right. Okay. Right. So you are fairly new to the scene. You've come in, I think, in the last year, 18 months? Is that?
Yeah, I think I released the first EP in February, and then another single there in March. So yeah, I mean within the last year is get that no pun intended, within the last year is really where I started kind of writing as the last years. So
okay, so as a new artist in the scene, and now having released and getting ready to do your first hard copy release, have you got any advice for any people hoping to sort of break in?
Well, for our conversation, think about your artwork, for your cassette. Make sure it's going to work for print. No.
Don't fucking send Colin.
Yeah, right.
Artwork wastes hours working on it. Yeah.
No, I think not who am I to give anybody advice? But I think just the one thing that I would say is just make music that you like, man. Like if you like it and you're passionate about it and you make something that you're proud of, then it'll find its audience and people will dig it.
I agree with that. The only thing I would say to that, and I'm not contradicting you or like disagreeing, is that like you do get that kind of thing like sometimes where you listen to your own music so much that you can't tell if you like it or not anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, what's going on here? Like,
that's why it helps to have friends who are brutally honest with you and will tell you, hey, this is garbage. So
yeah. The scene can be quite good like that. I mean, especially if you manage to maybe not like superficial people who comment on your stuff, but if you can find people who will genuinely give you just a little bit of like, dude, I love this, but and the scene does tend to do that. If you find the right people, everyone has to connect with their own people because we've all got different personalities and characters and stuff. But I find the scene is fairly supportive.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, again, like who am I? But I think it's been super accepting, and again, not being, your traditional synthwave, sometimes I was always a little nervous about releasing stuff because it's like, is this going to fit with the scene that I am, I guess, a part of? And for the most part, it's been really great and had really good feedback, and people are supportive, and it's been great so far. So
I hope you don't mind me saying, Drew, when I first met you or when I first spoke to you compared to now, I've noticed that you've kind of like chilled out a bit, and I don't know if it could be something to do with your personal life, but maybe I think it's like people come from different scenes, don't realize that how supportive the synthwave scene is, and like that it's not not necessarily cutthroat so much.
Yeah.
And like when you first sort of came in, I've had this with other artists too, not just you, mate. Honestly, it's a total normal thing. Like some people come from different scenes and they're expecting different things, and it takes them a while to kind of sort of see what's going on. Would you say that's a fair point?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the biggest thing is just being more comfortable with the music that I've written. The first stuff, I think if you go back and you listen to it, I think that's just a product of where I was, at that particular time. And I think you kind of, you learn little tricks, and you learn more about audio production, or you learn more about like how you want to sound as an artist, and that stuff kind of develops. So if you I feel like maybe the pandemic has calmed me down. I don't know.
There's lots of, to be honest, mate, I don't know. I mean, there could have been a million reasons, but you seem calmer than 18 months ago or 12 months ago or whatever it was.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, man. Maybe I just, maybe you and I just had more conversations, right? So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, maybe we just got to know each other, a little bit more, and now we're working together and we're sort of having a dialogue and stuff like that. I think that that's human nature, isn't it? But yeah, I just as a general comment though, I've noticed other people have sort of said that they're a bit shocked. I remember somebody saying to me, "Oh, in the last scene I was in, everyone just signed everywhere, and we were doing it like this," and I was sort of like, Yeah, we kind of, we all help each other.
Yeah,
Don't
really
worry
cool,
too much.
man. I think, like I said, everybody seems to be super supportive, and there doesn't seem to be any like competition. And I feel like in some other scenes, maybe that's kind of what you get, and maybe everybody's just chilled out because it's like nobody can play live shows or anything anyway, so we're all just kind of writing and releasing stuff that we think is cool. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you get into that competition, you're burning your bridges then as well. Because,
Sure, yeah.
You know what's to say, an artist comes to sign, for example, from a label point of view, an artist comes to sign for a label. You have a couple of great releases or whatever, and then they go off and they do something else. It doesn't mean they won't come back.
Sure.
They could go off because they think, they think the grass is greener on the other side, or they want to try something new or a new challenge. And then think, oh, do you know what? Actually, I really enjoyed what I was doing, and then come back. So, there's no point burning your bridges in terms of like getting all like precious about, oh, they've gone. I've lost artists that I would have preferred not to have lost.
Sure.
But, I wish them well.
Yeah.
And actually, the Goondock Saint is a really great example of that, who I've worked with since he's left afterwards and had some good collaborations with and things like that. So, it's always possible.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Who would you like to collab with in the scene, barring Michael Cross, the Subtheory, and I don't know who else?
Yeah, man, that's a tough one. I think anybody who and let me just say, like, Michael was great to work with. He and I did 2 tracks together. He shot me a DM shortly after the Future Ghosts EP came out. He really liked the title track and wanted to do something, and he sent over the bones of that Teenage Feeling song, which turned into I think, man, just a killer track. And we worked together on that and had
number one
really,
2 months in a row.
Yeah, hey, can't beat that, right?
Yeah.
So we had a lot of fun doing that, and he was great to work with. And then I reached out to Andy from the Subtheory because I love his stuff. And I think it was right before Impact came out, and said, hey man, like, if you ever want to do anything, I'd be thrilled, because I think he's so unique and his stuff is just so clean sounding, and he's got such a great aesthetic. So had been wanting to work with him, for a while.
He's very urban, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, man. I think it's almost got like a little bit of a hip hop feel, which I think
definitely.
Yeah, sounds great. The track that he and I did together, I sent to a friend of mine, and one of our favorite bands of all time is a band called AFI, which is a punk rock band, obviously from California. But the 2 guys from AFI do a side project called Black Audio, and if you haven't heard Black Audio, it's wonderful. But
I'll put a link in the description.
Yeah, they're great. But the stuff that the song that Andy and I did together actually gives me a little bit of that vibe. I think it's going to be great when it comes out. But I guess as far as anybody else in the scene that I would want to collab with, I mean, I think it's got to be anybody, really. I mean, if there's a song out there that hits me a certain way, I don't care who the artist is, I'd be more than happy to lend a vocal or a guitar or whatever I can do. I think it just has to be something that kind of hits you right. So
do you know what I'd like to hear from you is a female male vocal duet?
Yeah, actually,
really cool.
I think that would be cool. Yeah, I think so. One of the things about me is I'm terrible at vocal harmonies.
Oh dear. We'll just throw that out the window then, shall we?
Yeah. So I don't know why. In every band I've been in, I've always been like the lead vocal with the lead melody. I can never find the harmony. I don't know why. It takes me a lot of time to do that. But I do think that working with a female singer would be really cool.
Oh, yeah, me too. What's it? You have to go do re mi la li la la la.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. By the way, just referring back to Andy, I think and to a point we made earlier on, and him sort of having like this kind of hip hop urban sound twist on this 80s, just goes to show that there are different sounds within the genre. We were talking about what's your sound, you remember,
Yeah.
sort of synth-pop and stuff, but it just goes to show that there are also many different people who are making different sort of facets of 80s sounds, and there's no restriction, no matter what some people would like to say, on your take on an 80s sound. And I think,
and I, I think what's cool about his stuff is it's like, as soon as you hear a song of his, you're like, that's the Subtheory. You know what I mean? You know it right off the rip. And I think that's kind of the goal, right? Like when I write music, I want somebody to hear it and be like, oh, that's the Last Years. Like, I know that, and I
recognize
think,
your vocals, by the way, straight away whenever I
well,
hear
that's good. Yeah.
it.
I think that that certainly helps, right? Define a sound is vocals, because I think, once you get a couple of songs out there and your people hear your voice, then they can kind of hopefully instantly recognize it. And hopefully that's in a positive way. They're like, oh God, there's Drew singing again.
They're like, oh my God,
yeah,
that's the Last Years.
But you know what, man, and I'm sure there are people out there, and that's cool. Like, it's not for everybody, and that's fine. But I think that's part of the goal too, is you want to make something that is uniquely your own, right? And instantly recognizable. And like I said, I think Andy does such a nice job of that. And I think Michael Cross too. I think, when you hear a Michael Cross song, you can tell that that's a Michael Cross song.
And many other artists that we're not mentioning as well.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And I just, the point I was hoping to make was that, if people watching this, just, don't stop making music because it's not the traditional style. It doesn't have to be dreamwave. It doesn't have to sound like it came from Drive anymore. There's a lot more stuff out there, and people want to hear that. And
well, I think the other part of that is like, that era, there wasn't anything really like that before then, right? So they were doing something different, and I think that's where you talk about the sound or the scene evolving into something else and something new, so
and you know what, just on the flip side of that as well, I don't want people to think that I don't like the original stuff from the synthwave.
Yeah, who doesn't? I think that's the reason that we're all doing it, right? Because we heard that stuff we like it.
And there's nothing wrong with taking inspiration from some of the earlier stuff that's come out. I've said this in one or two other interviews, but I do think that if you want to release something now, you need to kind of just like understand that the scene has been going for quite a while, and that you probably need to just check that what you're producing isn't exactly the same as something that's come out before. That's the only thing. And it is always difficult to make something unique, but you can always do something that's similar but slightly different, and there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Next question, Drew. Thank you. Some really good answers and articulate answers. Thank you so much. What about slightly harder question? Too good, too bad about the scene?
Oh man. Yeah, I don't too good. I mean, I think the support in the scene and just the sense of community is great. You know what I mean? I think just the other piece of that is just the music, like the amount of music that's coming out, and the quality of that music is so unreal to me, man. I think about 15 years ago when I started, making music in a semi-professional manner, like I didn't have a setup like this at my house. You know what I mean? I lived in an apartment and didn't even have a laptop, like, and just what you're able to do in a bedroom now is bananas. So
insane, isn't it?
It is. It's really insane. And so I think those are two really good things about the community and the scene. I don't really know that there's a lot bad out there, man. I know that's like a cop-out answer, but I think.
Can I rephrase it? Maybe, how about this? Something you would like to see slightly improved. Is there anything? Like you think it's okay, but maybe it could be done in a better way.
Yeah, I think I don't really know, man. I think at the end of the day, You know, you don't really see a ton of gatekeeping in this community, which is nice. I mean, you know, maybe you have you know, some dude acting like the get off my lawn guy, you know, who's like, well, that's not synthwave, I'm not listening to it. But I mean, those are few and far between.
One or two.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, like, you know, those are so few and far between. I don't really think that there's a lot, you know, that could be changed. I mean, you know, there's so much diversity out there in the music that's made. You know, you're not hearing all the same stuff. You know, everybody's got kind of a unique take on what they're doing. So yeah, I mean, I can't say enough good things about this community.
I've got one thing to say. I'll help you out here, because one thing I would like to see improve in the synthwave scene, and I think it's happening, but obviously COVID-19 put a bit of a dampener on it. But I think if people out there listening to this interview, listening to who like you as an artist, or who like other people as an artist, or who follow our label, or anyone else, try to get yourself to gigs, man. Try to buy music. Yeah, try, like, I know it's I say this all the time, but we're in a retro scene.
Yeah,
it's very easy to stream music nowadays. It does help, but the revenues are pretty poo. Everyone knows that. But artists who generally get out there, who can perform, they can sing, they can play, they've got, you know, they've actually bothered to make their releases on vinyl and stuff like that. They, you know, that, I can't stress enough how important it is to not forget the core of what makes music. And you know, I think that for me, that's an area that we could all focus on in the scene, fans, artists, and everyone. So, you know, even even yourself, Drew, you know, if you like somebody, if you've got a few dollars spare, go and buy their music, kind of thing, you know.
I would agree with that. You know, I do think in this day and age, it's so easy just to, you know, spend your $10 a month on Spotify or Apple Music and think that
you don't even need to do that. You can do it for free and still stream. You know.
You know, but I think you're right. It's certainly not enough, and especially, you know, those artists who put the money down themselves to do, you know, a vinyl press or a cassette release. I mean, you know, it's not cheap. So yeah, I would agree with that.
I mean, we've I mean, you and I, we've forked out a little bit of money for one of the singles, a video single on your EP, which is going to go up on YouTube, and literally anyone can rip it off YouTube if they want. They can, you know. We paid for that video.
Yeah. You know,
they can just do what they want with it.
I do think the majority of the folks in this scene are super supportive, though. You know?
Yeah, of course.
You know, it's definitely like kind of our own little corner, you know, where you think about cassette releases or vinyl pressings. You know, there's definitely a little groove cut out for that.
A little niche. Yeah, there
you go.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I you know, I wasn't having a go at the scene. I'm just saying, you know, if there was an improvement, you know, live performances by anything, just to put, you know, especially when somebody goes to a lot of effort, you know,
for sure,
do something. And if you like it, you know, there's always the free option, but you know, the cooler option is to support the artist.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, right. Next question. Right, where are we at? Right, we've done collabs. Last question for the day. What's the future for the last years? What's coming up?
Yeah, so I think I've got a release with another artist. I'm not gonna name just yet. That's coming out in a couple of weeks. He and I did a collab together, and then I think the Subtheories collab and I is going to be probably after Christmas, first of the year, somewhere in there. Okay. But actually just started demoing out stuff for a new EP with Aaron. So have one of the tracks kind of full demoed out. We're gonna play with it and kind of see what happens. I don't have a release date or anything on that because we just started writing. But that's kind of what's going on right now. You know, obviously cassette release with you guys, which is going to be super fun. And I'm really excited about that. So yeah, I mean, it's been a really busy 2020. I'm kind of looking forward to a little time off and just to be able to relax around the holidays. But you know, we're gonna hit 2021, hit the ground running. So
Cool. All right, look, very, very, very last question. Any shout outs to anyone? Want to say thank you? Big love.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, shout out to my writing and producing partner, Aaron Flannery. You know, without him, the Future Ghost record would not be anywhere close to what it is. You know, shout out to Michael Cross. Shout out to you guys, Retro Reverb. I also want to shout out to Joe and Rob from Forever Synth. They were actually probably the first folks to play any of our stuff on anything, which is super rad of them. I think they played one of our tracks back in March, so was really happy about that. And the folks from Night Ride, you know, Jules and Dennis and Karin have been tremendous for their support of us too. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's probably about it.
Okay.
I'm sure I'm forgetting some people.
All right. Ben, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I'm really looking forward to the release. I'll put all of the links in the description, all the shout outs and everything like that. Take care, keep doing what you're doing, and you know, maybe we'll speak again in the future.
Yeah, thanks, Cole. Appreciate it, man.